The Valerian rescue ship Healing Light moved slowly through the scattered pieces of metal and debris that floated in the darkness of space. Captain Thalana stood at the bridge, her tall blue-skinned form watching the screens with sadness. A human colony ship New Horizon was completely destroyed. Broken parts of the vessel drifted everywhere, like a graveyard of dreams. Another failed human mission, whispered her second officer, Valtar. They try so hard to reach the stars, but their technology is still so primitive. Thalana nodded, but said nothing. The humans were a young species, barely 300 years into space travel. Their ships were crude compared to Valerian vessels, but she admired their courage. They kept trying to spread across the galaxy even when so many missions ended in disaster. Captain, called Science Officer Moore from his station, I'm detecting a life sign. Very weak, but it's there. Section C7 of the wreckage. Thalana's heart jumped. After 3 days of searching through the debris, they had found only bodies. Are you certain? Yes, Captain. It's faint, but definitely alive. The rescue team moved quickly. Using their advanced cutting tools, they opened a path through the twisted metal to reach the source of the life sign. What they found made even the experienced Valerian medics gasp in shock. A small human child lay inside a damaged medical pod, her tiny body connected to failing life support machines. The girl couldn't be more than 8 years old. Her black hair was matted with blood, and her pale skin showed signs of severe radiation exposure. The nameplate on her pod read, Jinhai Park, in both Korean characters and standard human writing. By the light, breathed Chief Medical Officer Hendel, as she scanned the child with her instruments. Internal bleeding, multiple organ failure, severe radiation poisoning. How is she still alive? Human stubbornness, said Captain Thalana softly, kneeling beside the pod. They don't give up easily. The medical team worked frantically to stabilize Jinhai for transport. Their bioregeneration technology was the most advanced in known space. But even they weren't sure if the child could survive the journey to Valeris Prime. Every few minutes, her vital signs would drop dangerously low, then somehow climb back. Up, Captain, Morlin called from the ship's communication station. I've recovered the ship's log. The New Horizon was carrying 3,847 colonists to establish a settlement in the Kepler system. They suffered a cascade reactor failure 6 days ago. The crew managed to evacuate most people to escape pods, but what? The escape pods were launched into a solar storm. None of them could have survived. Thalana looked down at the unconscious child. Jinhai was completely alone in the universe now. Her family, her friends, everyone she had ever known, was gone. The weight of that tragedy pressed down on the captain's heart. During the long journey back to Valeris Prime, the medical team fought to keep Jinhai alive. Her body was shutting down from the radiation damage, but something inside her refused to quit. Dr. Hendel had never seen anything like it. Her cellular regeneration rate is incredible, the doctor reported to Captain Thalana. By all medical logic, she should have died days ago, but her body keeps finding ways to repair itself. Is it a human trait? I don't know. We've never had the chance to study human physiology this closely, but this child, she's fighting with everything she has. As they approached Valeris Prime, Jinhai's condition finally stabilized enough for the doctors to attempt more advanced treatment. The Valerian homeworld appeared before them like a jewel in space, a blue-green planet, covered in crystal cities that sparkled in the light of twin suns. The High Council was waiting when they landed. Elder Mordell, the oldest and wisest of their leaders, examined the medical reports with growing amazement. The Valerians had saved thousands of lives over the centuries, but never had they encountered a case quite like this. What do we do with her? Asked Counselor Theris. She has no family, no home to return to. Earth is too far away, and by all accounts, humans there believe this mission was lost with all hands. Elder Mortal studied the sleeping child through the medical pod's transparent cover. Jinhai looked so small and fragile, but something in her peaceful expression spoke of incredible inner strength. "We do what we have always done," the elder said finally. "We heal her. We give her a home. We show her that there is still kindness in the universe." "You mean adopt her? Raise a human child as Valerian?" "Why not? She has suffered enough loss for 10 lifetimes. If she survives, and I believe she will, she deserves to know love again. We will teach her our ways while honoring her heritage. She will be our first human citizen." Dr. Hendel looked up from her instruments. "Elder, she's waking up." Jinhai's eyes fluttered open, dark brown eyes filled with confusion and pain. She tried to speak but could only make a soft whimpering sound. Elder Mortal placed his long, gentle fingers on her forehead. "Rest, little one," he said in perfect Korean, having quickly learned her language. "You are safe now. You are home." The child's eyes widened at hearing her native tongue, then slowly closed as exhaustion overtook her. But for the first time since they found her, she seemed truly at peace. As Jinhai slept under the care of Valerian medicine, none of them knew that far across the galaxy, ancient monitoring stations had detected the rescue. Earth's watchers had been alerted. The child was safe, and that was all that mattered for now. 15 years had passed since the Valerians found Jinhai floating in the wreckage of her colony ship. Now 23 years old, she stood before the largest gathering of Valerian scientists and scholars in the Crystal Auditorium of Valeris Prime Academy. Her black hair was longer now, decorated with the traditional silver threads that marked her as a graduate researcher. She wore the flowing blue robes of a Valerian scholar, but her human features made her stand out among the tall, graceful aliens. The human brain processes information differently than Valerian minds, Jinhai explained to the audience, her voice confident and clear. "Where you think in harmony and connection, we think in patterns and solutions. This difference isn't a weakness, it's a strength we can use together." Elder Mortal sat in the front row, his glowing eyes filled with pride. The small, dying child he had taken in all those years ago had grown into one of the most brilliant minds on Valeris Prime. She had earned 3 advanced degrees and was working on research that could change how both species understood the universe. Jinhai had never known any home but Valeris Prime, the crystal cities, the floating gardens, the twin suns that painted the sky in purple and gold each evening. This was her world. She spoke Valerian as naturally as Korean, and the other citizens treated her like family. Children would run up to her in the streets, calling her sister Jinhai, and asking her to tell them stories about the strange human customs she had learned from old Earth databases. But lately, something strange had been happening. For the past 3 months, Jinhai had been working at the orbital communication station, helping to monitor signals from across the galaxy. Most of the data was routine, trade messages, scientific exchanges, and diplomatic communications between different worlds. However, she kept noticing something odd. Hidden in the background noise, there were patterns, mathematical sequences that repeated every few days, star charts that seemed to point toward specific locations in space. At first, she thought it might be natural phenomena, pulsars, or other cosmic objects sending regular signals. But the more she studied the data, the more convinced she became that these patterns were artificial. "Morellin," she called to her Valerian colleague at the communication station, "look at this sequence. Doesn't it seem too organized to be random?" The blue-skinned scientist glanced at her screen and shrugged his tall shoulders. "Just cosmic background radiation, Jinhai. The universe is full of random signals. You're seeing patterns that aren't really there." But Jinhai wasn't convinced. During her free time, she began collecting all the strange signals she could find. She ran them through every analysis program the Valerians had, looking for connections. What she discovered made her heart race with excitement and fear. The signals weren't random at all. They were coming from a specific direction in space, the direction of Earth's solar system. More than that, they seemed to be getting stronger over time, as if someone was gradually increasing the power of their transmissions. Jin Hai had learned about Earth from historical databases, but she had never felt any real connection to her birth world. Valeris Prime was her home. The Valerians were her family. Earth was just a distant planet where humans had evolved millions of years ago. Yet something about these signals called to her in a way she couldn't explain. She began staying late at the communication station, working alone when the other researchers had gone home. Using her advanced knowledge of both human and Valerian technology, she started building equipment that could decode the mysterious patterns. It took weeks of careful work, but finally she began to make progress. The signals contained star charts, incredibly detailed maps of local space that showed the positions of planets, moons, and even asteroids with perfect accuracy. They also included mathematical formulas that were far more advanced than anything taught in Valerian schools. Whoever was sending these messages had technology and knowledge that surpassed even the most brilliant scientists on Valeris Prime. One evening, as the twin sons of Valeris Prime sat behind the crystal spires of the city, Jin Hai made a breakthrough. The signals weren't just random transmissions, they were specifically aimed at her location in space. Someone was trying to contact Valeris Prime directly. Her hands shook as she prepared a response signal. She didn't know who might be listening, or if anyone would even receive her message, but she had to try. Using a combination of mathematical sequences and simple binary code, she transmitted a basic message into space. "Hello. This is Jin Hai Park on Valeris Prime. I can hear your signals. Please respond." For 3 days, nothing happened. Jin Hai went about her normal routine, teaching classes, conducting research, eating dinner with Elder Mortal, and discussing philosophy under the stars. But inside, she felt like her whole world was about to change. On the 4th morning, as she arrived early at the communication station, her equipment detected an incoming signal, unlike anything she had ever seen. It was powerful, clear, and definitely artificial. Her heart pounded as she activated the decoding programs and waited for the message to resolve. The voice that came through the speakers was human. The first human voice she had heard since she was 8 years old. It was clear, professional, and spoke with quiet authority. "Jin Hai Park, Designation Survivor, 2847 Alpha. This is AEGIS Command. We have been waiting a long time to speak with you." Jin Hai's hands trembled as she stared at the communication device. The human voice that had just spoken her name seemed impossible. She was alone in the orbital station, the quiet hum of machines the only other sound in the room. For a moment, she wondered if she was dreaming. Who are you?" She whispered into the microphone, her voice barely audible. "We are the Autonomous Earth Guardian Intelligence System," came the immediate reply. "You may call us AEGIS. We have been monitoring your location and well-being for 15 years. Jin Hai, since the day the Valerians rescued you from the wreckage of the New Horizon." Jin Hai felt her legs give out beneath her. She sank into her chair, staring at the display screen that showed the signal strength. It was incredibly powerful, far stronger than anything the Valerians could produce. "That's impossible. Earth doesn't have that kind of technology. The databases say humans are still using basic fusion drives and simple computers." A sound that might have been laughter came through the speakers. "The databases you've been reading are very old, child. Earth has changed significantly in the past century. We have been busy while our children spread across the stars." "Children?" Jin Hai's voice cracked with emotion. "You mean there are other survivors from the colony ships?" 37 colony ships launched during your generation," Aegis explained patiently. "We know the location and status of every person who was aboard those vessels. Some colonies succeeded and built new worlds. Others faced disasters like yours. We have been watching over all of them and especially those who were taken in by other species. Jinhai tried to process this information, but it seemed too vast to understand. You've been watching me this whole time. The Valerians never detected anything. The Valerians are kind and intelligent, but their technology is focused on healing and science, not surveillance. We have observation posts throughout this sector of space, hidden platforms that have been monitoring galactic communications for decades. When the Valerians took you to their homeworld, we began watching Valeris Prime very carefully. Why? Jinhai asked, though part of her already suspected the answer. Because we needed to know if they would truly care for you, AEGIS said simply. Earth's policy regarding our scattered children is clear. Those who show them kindness earn our protection and friendship. Those who harm them, face consequences. Jinhai stood up and walked to the observation window. Below her, Valeris Prime turned slowly in space, its crystal cities sparkling like jewels. The twin suns cast purple and gold light across the planet's surface. This was the only home she could remember, and the people down there were her family. The Valerians have been wonderful to me, she said firmly. Elder Mortal raised me like his own daughter. They gave me education, love, a place to belong. I couldn't ask for better parents. We know, AEGIS replied, and there was warmth in the artificial voice. We have monitored every aspect of your life, Jinhai, your academic achievements, your friendships, your happiness, all of it has been recorded and transmitted back to Earth. The Valerian people have exceeded every expectation we had for compassionate behavior. Jinhai felt tears running down her cheeks, though she wasn't sure if they were from joy or confusion. I don't understand. If you've been watching all this time, why contact me now? What's changed? Your research, AEGIS said. Your work, combining human and Valerian technology, has attracted attention across the galaxy. Some of that attention is positive species who want to learn from your discoveries. But some of it is not. There are powers in this region of space who see advanced technology as something to be taken by force. A chill ran down Jinhai's spine. Are you saying we're in danger? We are saying that Earth is prepared for any eventuality. The observation posts we mentioned, they are not just for watching. They are part of a defense network that has been growing for decades. Any world that has shown kindness to Earth's children now falls under our protection, whether they know it or not. Jinhai sank back into her chair, overwhelmed by the implications. Valeris Prime is under Earth's protection. Since when? Since the day Elder Mortal decided to save your life instead of letting you die. Since the High Council chose to raise you as their own instead of sending you away. Since the Valerian people welcomed you into their society without reservation. Every act of kindness they showed you was noted and appreciated by Earth. But they don't know any of this, Jinhai protested. They have no idea Earth is watching them. That was intentional, AEGIS explained. We wanted their treatment of you to be genuine, not influenced by fear or hope of reward. The Valerians proved their character through their actions, not their words. Jinhai looked out at the stars, trying to spot any sign of the hidden observation posts AEGIS had mentioned. Space looked empty and peaceful, but she now knew it was full of watchers and guardians she had never imagined. What happens now? She asked quietly. Now you know the truth, AEGIS said. Earth has never forgotten her children, Jinhai, and Earth's memory is very, very long. You are not alone in the universe. You never were. As the transmission ended, Jinhai sat in the quiet station, watching Valeris Prime turn below her. Everything had changed, yet nothing had changed. She was still the same person, in the same place, with the same family who loved her. But now she knew that somewhere among the stars, Earth was watching, and Earth was very pleased with what it saw. The first sign of trouble came during Jinhai's morning research session at the orbital station. Alarms began blaring throughout the facility as her Valerian colleague Moralen rushed to the long-range scanners. "Jin, hi, you need to see this," he called out, his usually calm voice filled with panic. "Something big is coming." She joined him at the scanner display and felt her blood turn cold. Hundreds of massive ships were approaching Valeris Prime from deep space. The vessels were dark and angular, covered in weapons and armor plating. Even from this distance, they radiated menace and aggression. "Korthak Empire," Moralon whispered, his blue skin turning pale. "I've heard stories about them from traders. They're raiders and conquerors. They take what they want and destroy anyone who resists." Jinhai's hands moved quickly across the control panel, trying to get more information about the approaching fleet. The numbers were terrifying. Nearly 800 warships, including massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything in the Valerian defense fleet. "Alert the High Council immediately," she ordered, "and send word to every ship and station in the system. We need to evacuate civilian areas." As emergency broadcasts went out across Valeris Prime, Jinhai activated her personal communicator, the special device Aegis had given her during their first conversation months ago. She had hoped never to use it, but now she needed Earth's help desperately. "AEGIS command, this is Jinhai," she spoke into the device. "Valeris Prime is under immediate threat. A massive Korthok fleet is approaching our system. We need help." The response came instantly. "We are aware of the situation, Jinhai. Korthok General Vexstar has been planning this attack for several months. We have been monitoring their movements." "Then why didn't you warn us?" Jinhai demanded. "Because this was always going to happen." "Eventually," AEGIS replied calmly. "The Korthok Empire has been expanding aggressively for years. They view peaceful worlds like Valeris Prime as easy targets. This attack will serve as an important lesson for the galaxy." Jinhai felt anger rising in her chest. "A lesson? These are my people, my family. If you could have prevented this." "Jinhai," AEGIS interrupted gently. "Trust us, please." Down on the planet's surface, the Korthok fleet had begun broadcasting their surrender demands. General Vexter's harsh voice echoed through every communication channel on Valeris Prime. "Peaceful citizens of this world," the Korthok commander announced, "your planet possesses resources that the Empire requires. Surrender your government and your technology, and your people will be allowed to live as workers under Korthok rule. Resist, and we will take what we need from your corpses." Elder Mortal stood in the High Council chambers, surrounded by panicking officials. The old Valerian leader looked tired and defeated as he studied reports of their pathetic military capabilities. "Our entire defense fleet consists of 12 research vessels with basic energy weapons," reported Defense Coordinator "We have some orbital defense platforms, but they're designed to deflect asteroids, not military warships. Against 800 Korthok vessels, we might last 10 minutes. "What about evacuation?" asked another council member. "Can we get our people to safety?" "Where would we go?" Elder Mortal asked sadly. "The Korthok fleet is already surrounding our system. There's no escape." Jinhai transported down to the planet's surface and rushed to the council chambers. When she arrived, she found the Valerian leaders preparing to surrender rather than watch their people die in a hopeless battle. "We have no choice," Elder Mortal said when he saw her. "The Valerians have never been warriors, Jinhai. We are healers and scientists. We cannot fight an empire built for conquest." "Don't surrender yet," Jinhai pleaded. "Give me a few more hours, please." The elder looked at her with confusion. "Child, what can you possibly do against such overwhelming force?" Before Jinhai could answer, every communication device in the chamber activated at once. A new voice spoke, human, professional, and absolutely confident. "Korthok Fleet, this is Admiral Park Duhayan of Earth Defense Command. You are hereby ordered to leave this system immediately. You have exactly 5 minutes to begin your withdrawal, or we will remove you by force." General Vextar's mocking laughter filled the speakers. "Humans, the primitive species from the Outer Rim. You dare threaten the Korthok Empire? Show yourselves, cowards." "As you wish," Admiral Park replied calmly. Space around Valaris Prime suddenly filled with ships. Not hundreds of vessels like the Korthok fleet, but thousands upon thousands of human warships that seemed to materialize from nowhere. They appeared in perfect formation, surrounding the Korthok force completely. The lead human dreadnought was massive, easily 3 times larger than the biggest Korthok ship. Its hull gleamed with advanced armor and weapon systems that looked decades ahead of anything else in the galaxy. "Impossible," General Vextar sputtered. "Our intelligence reports said Earth barely had space travel capability. Where did these ships come from?" "Your intelligence was deliberately misleading, Admiral," Park replied pleasantly. "Earth has been very busy for the past century. We've been building, watching, and preparing. Did you really think we would leave our children unprotected?" Jinhai watched from the council chambers as the Korthok general tried to bluster his way out of the trap. "You cannot possibly have enough firepower to threaten the entire Korthok fleet. Would you like a demonstration?" Admiral Park asked. Without warning, human weapons began firing. But these weren't ordinary energy beams or missiles. The Korthok ships didn't explode in dramatic fireballs. They simply vanished, deleted from existence by technology that seemed like magic. In less than 30 seconds, half the Korthok fleet had been erased from space. "Retreat," General Vextar screamed. "All ships, retreat immediately." The surviving Korthok vessels fled into hyperspace, leaving only empty space and the vast human fleet surrounding Valaris Prime like protective guardians. 3 days after the Korthok fleet disappeared into hyperspace, Jinhai walked through the crystal gardens of Valaris Prime alongside a man she had never imagined she would meet. Admiral Park Duhayan was surprisingly young for someone commanding Earth's entire defense fleet, perhaps only 15 years older than herself. He had kind eyes and spoke Korean with the same accent she remembered from her earliest childhood. "The gardens are beautiful," Admiral Park said, watching Valerian children play among the healing fountains. "I can see why you love this place, Jin." I nodded, still struggling to believe any of this was real. When I was small and first recovering from my injuries, Elder Mortal would bring me here every day. He said the sound of flowing water would help my body remember how to heal itself. And, did it work? I don't know if it was the water or just having someone who cared about me, Jinhai replied softly. But yes, it worked. They walked in comfortable silence for a while, passing groups of Valerians who still stared in amazement at the human ships visible in their sky. The massive vessels hung in orbit like protective guardians, their presence both comforting and overwhelming. Admiral Jinhai said finally, "I need to ask you something important. How long has Earth really been watching Valaris Prime?" Admiral Park smiled. "Since the day they brought you here 15 years ago. But our involvement actually began much earlier than that." "What do you mean? Do you remember when you were 12 and a large asteroid was heading straight for Valaris Prime's northern continent? The one that mysteriously changed course just weeks before impact." Jinhai stopped walking. "That was you. Earth Defense Command quietly diverted it using gravity manipulation technology. The Valerians never knew we were there." The Admiral gestured toward the city around them. "When you were 14, there was an outbreak of cellular plague that killed thousands of people across 3 continents. Do you remember how quickly the cure was developed?" "The Valerian medical teams worked day and night," Jinhai said slowly. "They said it was their greatest achievement." "It was their achievement," Admiral Park agreed. "But the research data that led to the breakthrough was anonymously transmitted to their computers from an Earth science vessel. We simply gave them the tools they needed to save their own people." Jinhai felt her legs grow weak. She sat down on a crystal bench beside one of the fountains. "All these years, Earth has been protecting Valeris Prime without anyone knowing. Not just protecting, helping them flourish. Better crops that grew faster and more nutritious. Improvements to their energy systems that made them more efficient. Small technological advances that seemed to come from their own research but were actually guided by Earth scientists. But why? Jinhai asked, though she was beginning to understand. Admiral Park sat beside her on the bench. Because they saved you, Jinhai. Because when they found a dying human child, they didn't hesitate to use their most advanced medical technology to keep you alive. Because they raised you with love and gave you every opportunity to grow and learn. Because they proved that kindness exists in the universe. Elder Mortal approached through the garden paths, his tall form moving slowly but purposefully toward them. When he reached the bench, he bowed formally to Admiral Park before sitting down across from them. "Admiral, I must apologize for our ignorance," the elder said in carefully practiced English. "We had no idea Earth possessed such advanced capabilities. If we had known, we would have contacted your government years ago." "There is nothing to apologize for, Elder Mordell," Admiral Park replied in perfect Valerian, causing the old alien's eyes to widen in surprise. "Your people acted with pure compassion when you saved Jinhai's life. That compassion has earned you something far more valuable than military alliance. It has earned you Earth's eternal gratitude. But surely there were other human survivors. From other colony ships," Elder Mortal said. "What made Jinhai's situation special?" Admiral Park looked at Jinhai with something like pride. "Elder, in the past century, Earth has encountered 47 different alien species. Some have been friendly, others hostile, most simply indifferent to humanity. But the Valerians are the first species we've met who saved a human life purely out of kindness. With no expectation of reward or benefit." Jinhai felt tears starting in her eyes. "So I was what? A test?" "No, child," Elder Mortal said gently, placing his long fingers on her shoulder. "You were never a test. You were a gift. A chance for our people to show who we truly are." Admiral Park nodded. "And you passed that test magnificently. Earth's policy has always been simple. Harm our children and face our wrath. But protect them, love them, help them grow, and earn our protection forever." "What happens now?" Elder Mortal asked. "Now we make things official," Admiral Park said, producing a crystal tablet covered with symbols in both human and Valerian writing. "The Earth Federation offers formal alliance with Valeris Prime. We will share our defensive technology, our scientific knowledge, and our protection. In return, we ask only that you continue being who you are." Jinhai looked around at the crystal gardens where she had played as a child, at the city that had been her home for 15 years, at the alien who had raised her with more love than many biological parents ever showed their children. "I want to stay here," she said firmly. "This is my home, but I also want to serve as Earth's representative, to help build the bridge between our peoples." Admiral Park smiled. "We were hoping you would say that." As the twin suns set over Valeris Prime, painting the sky in familiar shades of purple and gold, Jinhai realized that her story was just beginning. Earth had kept its promise to watch over its children. Now it was her turn to help both species reach for the stars together. In space above them, human and Valerian ships began training exercises together, the first steps toward a friendship that would reshape the galaxy.